Now we're moving on to another phase about why you ought to keep Solomon's name out your mouth. Let me tell you something. If you would like, if you want and desire to have a poly whatever, this is a free country. Now, whether you get in trouble with the law for trying to have multiple spouses, that's on you. But it's a free country. But what happens is people in that particular clip with Cam Newton, they bring up Solomon, Brother Solomon. They love to bring up David too, King David in the Bible. Yeah. And we're going to talk about really briefly why that's not a good idea. And the reality of what, even though there were a lot of relationships highlighted in the Bible, and when I say highlighted, it wasn't God co-signing. He's telling the story. So-and-so had 2 wives. He's telling you this. So-and-so had 2 wives. Not, I endorse having 2 wives. But anyway.
Right.
And we'll have some examples about how that went. So King Solomon, if you go to 1 Kings chapter 11. I'm not reading these. I'm giving these as reference. Verse 1, and then you skip over to verse 4. It says, and Solomon loved many women, and they call them strange women. Okay. Many strange women. And basically, the man of God's heart was far from God. It said, as a result of that, he was turned away from God. See, people talk about a highlight and don't look at the consequence. Yes, the Lord tells you that so-and-so had multiple wives, and he also tells you that he took his favor from his generations after him. It'll tell you that that person died and their heart was not right with the Lord. That is serious consequences. We want to talk about King David, and King David was a man of God. I believe he'll be in heaven when we go. But King David's family, them children were a mess. If you read who he procreated with, something won't right somewhere. His children was a hot mess. They was fighting each other, wanted to kill each other. They wanted to kill their daddy. They sleeping with the half sister, raping the half sister. Yeah. It was a lot of foolishness. It comes from having multiple women. You can't even attend to your kids like you need to when you got so many. And when I say that, just be clear, when grandmama and grandpa and them had 12 kids, they attended to their kids. But when you've got like this, we're not talking about grandma and David and his wife had 12 kids. We talking about David and his 5 wives or 6 wives, and each one of them having 12 kids. You know, it's a lot, you know, that's a lot. So anyway, that's a consequence. Then we look at the highlights of the wives, whether it be like just 2 wives, like Rachel and Leah, Peninnah and Hannah, Sarah and Hagar. We'll highlight that in a minute. Nowhere where we saw multiple wife relationships was there peace and happiness. At all. Rachel and Leah were blood sisters and could not stand each other because they wanted the same man, and one felt favored over the other. Okay, and then they even talked about. Think about this now. One night, Rachel wanted something that Leah had, some fruit or some type of food. And she was like, wow, you got my husband and you want my food too? I'm paraphrasing. And then she was like, all right, give me that food and he can sleep with you tonight. Good God Almighty. How that feel now? Think about that. Wow. Like, I give you our husband tonight. You just give me that fruit. That's a terrible feeling.
Jesus. That's crazy.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
And you know, and to be not hard on the men, Jacob was tricked into having 2 wives. If he had got Rachel first, he probably would have only had Rachel. Right. And that was a different culture. You couldn't just divorce somebody. So, and he had to take care of Leah, and he did. Peninnah and Hannah, another tumultuous relationship.
Tumultuous.
You know, they did not get along at all. Peninnah made Hannah's life a living hell. Yep. And Peninnah was the one that had the fruitful womb. Yeah. And Hannah was the favorite wife. But she was just like, no, Lord, give me a child. I'm going to die.
Mhm.
This girl is
Right.
taunting me. But you know what I'm saying? Every time I look, she gets a baby, another baby, another baby. And Sarah and Hagar are interesting. See,
Right.
this is a good highlight because sometimes you get what you think you want,
Yeah.
and God no, you don't want it, you don't need it.
Mhm.
This was Sarah's initiation.
Initiation.
Sarah initiated this poly relationship. Now, did Abraham object hard enough? No, probably not.
At all.
But
Of
that
course he
Didn't object
didn't.
hard enough at all.
But anyway,
Okay.
I ain't gonna fault the brother. Hey, I don't know. I don't know what kind of convincing Sarah did. And I'm sure it didn't take much. I'm sure Hagar was much younger and probably attractive.
Mhm.
But but truth be told, Abraham would have never went there had it not been presented to him in that manner. Like, this is how we're gonna get the promise. Then after everything happened, Sarah talking about she got to go. Her
Treat
and
her
that
like a
child
treat her like a dog.
Her and that child got to
Banished
get
her.
up out of here because
Right.
my child is the promised child. What was that
Mhm.
energy, Sarah, when you was waiting? But
Mm, come
but
on.
anyway, so again, another time, and that actually hurt Abraham. God had to comfort Abraham and say, "I'm going to take care of your other son, and I'm going to take
Yeah.
care of her, and I'm going to bless her." And he had to send his first true son, biological son, away. So it's a lot of pain
It is.
that
Yeah.
comes along with going after your own lust or
Yeah.
with using. That's why you got to keep these people's name out of your mouth when you want to do something like this, because God shows you what they were, what happened, and
Mhm.
he also gives you the results.
Yeah.
Don't
Hmm.
just stop at they had multiple wives. Yes, they were blessed. Yes, they were favored, but that was based on their relationship with the Most High God, and they're fulfilling their purpose
Yeah.
for his kingdom, regardless of their flaws when it came to relationships.